you can feel how important and powerful practices can be, because it's like, what's on my heart is that you are one practice away from the life that you desire, from the person you desire to be. I had no idea what practices were. A couple years ago, I understood what a yoga practice was, because it's literally called a practice. Like, I got like, oh, I understand, I'm practicing being present on my mat so that I can be present in my life. I wasn't really translating that, but I understood like that. But as far as practices of self-love and how to embody in intention and align with, I had no idea, like, what are you talking about? And it didn't, like, the switch didn't flip until I was sitting in a workshop and the instructor said, it's not about the tools. It's about the one using the tools. It's about the one doing the doing. And my heart sank, because all of a sudden I realized I had no idea who that person was. And I had a feeling that I didn't like them. So looking back, that was a huge turning point in my transformation, in my growth, in my journey. Because it was the first time I saw how important it is to know who you are, who you be. So it became evident that I needed practices, like daily practices, weekly practices. I needed something that was going to allow me to uncover and discover who the heck this was, and also how to make it good. And it was not a fun process. Like, I don't, like, get it, like, just accept that it's hard and it's messy and it's, ugh. But know that everything you want is on the other side of it. Brené Brown talks about the swamplands, like, inside. She refers to shame as like the swampland in us. And many of us are too afraid to go into the swamp. Like, we don't want to, like, no thank you, I don't want to know what's in there. I'm just gonna stand here on the bank. But that standing on the bank in the quicksand, slowly sinking, is far worse. And something had just come over me at that point where I was just like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to deal with this. And that's where I began to actually practice. And it started with meditation, which is on that list. It started with sitting in the nothingness, sitting with myself. That, when I first started doing that, I hated it. Anger would come up, sadness, like this profound, deep feeling that there was something deeply and profoundly wrong with me. It was not comfortable, but I did it consistently, and I showed up and I kept practicing that. I kept practicing sitting with myself. I kept practicing allowing my heart to feel what it needed to feel. At first, like, just connecting to my heart, couldn't even do it. It was like, I'm dead inside, I don't feel anything. But I kept doing it. And that's what I want you to hear. Like, if you hear nothing else, keep doing it. Consistency is everything, because you may not feel or see or sense that anything is happening or anything is getting better. And then one day, you will suddenly feel everything shift. And I don't know how to describe it. The best way I can articulate it is, I felt like my cells, like the little cells of Aspen, restructuring and aligning into a different shape. But it comes from showing up consistently in these practices. So, finding a practice that works for you, because I am not about doing 20 things, right? Working hard, broad spectrum of practices. No, like we want deep practices. We want to work deep. We want quality, not quantity. So it's a process of figuring out what your practices are, and then it's making them sacred, like making them yours. You know, there's just something so incredible, and I hope that you feel that when you begin this journey. So, a place to start, if you're super lost, is to think about, is to know that you're always practicing something. So to become aware of, what am I practicing right now? Like, if my shoulders are slumped over and in my head I have on repeat, you're not good enough, you can't do this, I'm practicing that. I'm practicing it in my physical body. I'm practicing it, like I'm digging those ruts in my brain deeper. So just becoming aware, like, what am I practicing right now? And then once, awareness is choice. So then seeing, like, how can I shift? Like, in this moment, what would it be like? What would it feel like if I was practicing listening? If I was practicing compassion? If I was practicing presence? So that's a place to start. Second place is to look at what you might already be doing that you don't realize. So we have routines, we have habits. Like maybe you take your dog out for a walk every day. Maybe you have a cup of tea or coffee in the morning. Maybe, hopefully, you brush your teeth every day, right? So we already are doing these practices, these routines, these habits. So seeing if there's anything in there that you could add some consciousness, some intentionalness, is that a thing? Some mindfulness to, like going for a walk, like creating an intentional practice around that where I'm going to be present for this whole walk, or I'm going to practice noticing my breath. I'm going to practice gratitude, like bringing some intention to what you're already doing. Maybe bringing some being to what you're already doing. If you always have a cup of coffee or tea in the morning, instead of on your phone scrolling through Facebook, instead make an intentional practice of checking in with yourself, or journaling, or emptying out. So that's an important one, emptying out. So that leads me into giving you an example of how I see my practices and what I do as a place to start. So the most important practice is a morning practice. I know that some of you are sick of me saying that, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's so important. We are closer to our subconscious in the morning, so what we do really freaking matters. How we set the tone for our morning sets the tone for our day, sets the tone for our life. So really giving yourself a chance to have a beautiful life and a beautiful day by setting yourself up, by, just like coming together. And the best ways that I can offer are I empty out. So what I mean by that is I will move my body, my breath, stretching, or I will journal and write, or I will go for a walk and put my hand on my heart and feel like if there's anything that needs to be felt, like emptying out, because this is the thing. Like energy flows into us all day long. Everything is energy when you get down to its essence. But if something disrupts us or disturbs us or it can get stuck. And then that creates a block, and then that creates everything else trying to go around it. I mean, what happens is we start to try to let it out and let it go through our minds. So that's where you get the busy mind. Have you ever experienced that, or is your mind totally calm all the time, right? We all know what that feels like when it's just on loop, either a belief or a story or something happened or whatever, and it's go. If it can't get out that way, then it comes into here. And that's when you start to like really feel emotions, and it's just like, ah. So that happens. It happens all the time, every day. And so it's really important to empty out, to let that stuff move through so that it doesn't build and clump and clog and fester and infect, right? Like, we want things to move. We want to eliminate, like, you know. So emptying out, however that looks for you, what I find is the most effective is moving your body and moving your breath, because that's literally moving energy through your body. If it's brain dumping and just writing in your journal, then that's what it is. If it's going for a walk and literally like plugging in and like letting yourself feel, emptying out is huge. Then the second part of my morning practice is filling up. So that can look like anything that fills you up with the type of energy that you want to have. Like, for me, it's always really listening to what is being called for, what needs to be tended to. So sometimes it's sitting in my chair and just being really cozy and like sipping my tea or coffee and just being with me. Sometimes it's drawing. I have these Rumi oracle cards and like drawing a card and getting inspiration or ahas from that. Sometimes it's diving into a really good book. Sometimes it's listening to a podcast or music or something that inspires me, or manifesting, like writing out dreams, or visualizing. Like, there's so many different things to like fill you up, right? So those are two kind of buckets you can begin to think about as far as a morning practice: emptying out and filling up. And I can already hear the excuses. I don't have enough time. I have 5 babies that wake me up at 5 a.m. I have a job that starts at 4 a.m. Baka, 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 baka. I get it. Like, trust me, I do. But I also know that when you start choosing you, everything gets brighter. So find what you can do. Like, if your morning practice, some mornings, is 5 deep breaths with your hand on your heart while you pee, then that's what it is that morning. But having the intention of, and making it sacred and making it your own, like, these are my practices. So that's where coming up with a very strong why. Why do I practice? Why do I make time for this? Why do I show up in this way? Because that will get you out of bed at 4 a.m. when you need to do it so that you can have time to yourself before the kid's up. That'll get you to find throughout your day little practices, little check-ins. That'll get you to take the time in the evening to turn off the TV and have like an evening brain dump, or a emptying out, or a, gratitude like shower, so that you are going to sleep infused in that energy and in like what you want to live in. So just let go of the excuses. Like, give yourself permission to figure it out. Like, it's that, okay, so here's a great thing. So like, people say, here, jump over this couch. And somebody's like, I can't do that. You put a tiger in the room, 2 seconds, they're over the couch, right? So find your tiger, like, find your why. Like, why is this important to me? And then, just get curious and cozy with your practices. Sometimes it's choosing a practice that doesn't feel great, but that you need, like for me, sitting in the nothingness. And other times it's choosing a practice that feels so good to you, like, oh, if I had all the time, I would do this, or I would write this, or I would like spend time thinking about this, daydreaming, I would paint, I would color, I would like do whatever it is. Like, let yourself have that time. And like, hands down, you will see change. You just will. The key is consistency, because I have embraced and honored and completely understood at the core of my being that the path, like, everybody always wants to find the path. Like, what's the steps? Like, give me the thing, the path, blah, blah, blah. For me, I have learned that the path is the practice. The practices are the path. It's not a one and done. It's not a, whoop, I'm all healed and whole and like, I'm good. No, it's every day showing up to your mat or your cushion or your journal or your whatever and walking with that in your life. Like I said, like the presence and calmness that you find in the morning with your cup of coffee. Finding that when you're in an argument with your spouse and you want to rip their face off. So like letting your practices enrich and be like the tapestry of your life and infuse everything that you do, not separate from your life. So yes, that's practices. I feel so passionate about it, in case you can't tell. And so I just wanted to deepen into that and, give you this in the hopes that it stirs and evokes within you that same kind of passion and power that I feel. Because, like I said, I had no idea what the heck a practice was, and I didn't know who I was, and I didn't like who I was, and all of those things. So I'm here to share with you that I've seen it from the inside out, how powerful and practical and incredible like this path of practices can be. That was a lot of P's. Path, practices, Anyway, take that and listen to you and your heart. Go back over that PDF if that resonates with you, those practices, or go out and discover your own. I mean, it can be fun. Like, you can even make a practice box where you put stuff in, like go for a walk, or like watch a funny, snippet of this, or like whatever. And so you can like draw from it. Maybe you have a practice of smiling at a stranger. Maybe you have a practice of like spreading your toes. I don't know. Like, you can have a practice of anything as long as it resonates with you and connects with who you are. The last thing I'll say, because I just thought of it, is some of my practices I've created based on like an experience or an event or something that was like really transformative and big for me. I've developed like a little anchor, a little remembering of it. So an example, this is a personal example, but we're all personal here, right? Is in one of the most incredible workshops I've ever taken, there's a practice of like bowing into the space to make it sacred. And in that room, I had so many incredible experiences and transformations inside of myself that I didn't want to forget how it felt to choose me and how to bow in to a sacred place and space that was just for me. So in order to encapsulate that and remember that in my cells and my being every day, I have a very simple practice of playing a certain song and walking across my mat and bowing with the intention that I am choosing into my day, that I'm bowing into my life, that I am showing up, I am choosing me, and I am all in. So it's a very simple doing, walk, 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 bow. But to me, it feels in my body what I need to remember about who I be. So that's another way to come to a practice, is if there's something that lights your heart on fire, or something that you want to be reminded for, or reminded about, or if there's something that triggers like the person that you desire to like step into, then you can find practices around that. It's like being a good mommy, or however, like whatever the thing is that you want to be reminded of and refreshed and evoked, activated within you. Finding like a simple little practice around that is also a beautiful place to start. So I feel like I've talked enough. And I wish you like all the love and support in your practices, because when you become a practitioner of your life, you become the power. Yeah, like it's just power and its energy, and it's always available in you. It's pretty crazy, actually. It's kind of like you become a little bit of like a superhero. Like you activate something in your being that was always there. You just hadn't figured out like how to touch it or activate it or trigger it. So get curious and find out what that is for you. I wish you all the luck on your path of practices.